think there's much we're going to be able to do.
Did you see what RIT did to Ohio Wesleyan?
Yeah. Okay, Corey.
Talking to this.
You think Jake's a little upset he didn't beat Wesleyan last year?
He's got to lick that
He took it out on Ohio Wesleyan, wrong school.
He's got to take it out on everybody.
Okay. You guys are live.
We're live?
Yep.
Cool.
Dickinson College, baby.
All right, so let's just start real quick. We don't have Lori tonight, which is unfortunate because Cliff's filling in now. So while he is definitely not going to do as good a job as Lori, he's there, and he's there to answer questions. So make sure you guys are active tonight. If you're on, we got a pretty awesome situation. Cliff's
I make no
handling
promises,
questions.
Corey.
Yeah, no. But, hey.
We don't expect much from Cliff, so whatever he does.
I'm not as good looking as Lori either.
We're set,
not even close.
No, we're setting the bar super low tonight, so we meet expectations. So we're here right now at Dickinson College. We got a special guest, the head men's lacrosse coach of Dickinson, and we'll talk a lot about what he has done, all the positives, and there's a lot of them. So that's why we're basically dedicating the show to Dickinson men's lacrosse. And Coach Webster, really excited to have you. How you feeling tonight?
Feeling great. Thanks, guys. Great to have you here.
Thanks, man. This facility's sick.
It's awesome. We're very fortunate.
What's the name of the building that we're in right now?
This is the Durden Athletic Training Center, named after former Dickinson president Bill Durden.
Gotcha. Okay, so I was wondering where that name came from. And then talk a little bit about what's behind us right now. So
behind you is Biddle Field. That's where football and men's and women's lacrosse play. It's going to be actually resurfaced this summer as soon as our season ends. So
wow.
We're excited about that. But it's a great venue. It's very close to the center of campus. Get a lot of support and a lot of fun environment here.
And you also have a turf field a little bit to our left. What's that used for over there?
So that's primarily field hockey.
Okay.
But we will practice at times there, and various teams, soccer teams, will use that as well for practice.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've pretty much been here for the better part of the day. So we got a chance to tour campus a little bit. You took us around the facility. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. But let's talk about kind of what led us here. Dad, you want to kind of start what we've been up to here so far?
Well,
on the show?
For those that don't know it, every year Corey and I go on what we call our college road tour. We started when Corey was a junior in high school. My wife and I took him on February break to visit schools so we could educate him and ourselves on the different colleges. And we did kind of upstate New York, Colgate. Then we went through New Hampshire, did Dartmouth, came down, did BC. Had a great club program, beautiful school. Visited Tufts. I think we went through Middlebury. So we visited a bunch of schools back then. And I just thought it was a great opportunity for Corey to really educate himself on the different types of colleges. And they want my face in the camera, which is scary.
We should probably hide.
So through the process, I just decided to do it all the time, and to better help. He's good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Sorry. To better help our kids in the FLG program, we educate ourselves on all these schools. I mean, we learned an amazing amount just today about your great institution, and I mean, I was amazed. We went to the bookstore and we got to rub elbows with the student body.
Right.
We like to get away from the sports a little bit so that we can meet the student body, because obviously, for those out there who've got to know it, lacrosse is very important, but it's not the only thing that goes on in college.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of our recruiting is that balance that you just talked about. This is a real fun part of it. We think it's the best 2 hours of the day, but there's a lot of important things at other parts of campus that our guys are really involved with.
I tell you, I got to meet your daughter. I want to bring that up because the family's very important to us, and obviously we're speaking to many families out there, and we talk about the opportunity of going to college. And it was nice. I got to meet Coach's daughter, who's in a year and a half is going to be heading to High Point to play Division I soccer, which is cool. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is you've always been the coach on the side of the table talking to the recruit.
Right.
What was it like when you were the dad on the other side of the table?
Well, it's a great question, and it's been funny. She didn't want to listen to me at all about the recruiting process. I didn't know a thing about it. And so that was a little frustrating for me at times, but it comes with the territory, and my wife actually led most of the process and was involved with all the visits, and I was kind of in the background just kind of watching it all unfold. But it's been great, and she found a wonderful home, a great staff down there, and really excited for her.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. I mean, obviously, I went through it with my 3 children. They weren't all athletes. Corey was the only one who played sports in college. But when you pick colleges, one of the things we want to educate our parents on is you need to make visits.
Right.
I mean, look at us. We're sitting here. My next child going to college is Corey's 1-year-old. God willing, and we're doing this because we want to be able to educate. We were sitting there talking to your great women's staff today, Paige and Kim. Kim just had a beautiful baby,
Right.
baby Reed, a beautiful girl.
Yep.
And we were talking about a young lady that we thought this would be a great fit for. And the reason we brought it up was because of your international business studies.
Right.
Arguably, that's one of your bigger majors. I think she said they have like 10 girls out of 30 that are studying that.
Yeah. Most popular major on campus. It's the most popular within our team. We have several different options within business. Most of the guys are in there. But our roster, we cover just about every major that Dickinson has. We have quite a few in the pre-med track every year.
Really?
And that's really neat to see that, have that opportunity, which you couldn't do at many places.
No.
Because of the labs, and it works here.
Yeah?
And the professors are very understanding, and yeah, it's great.
That's unbelievable because
Right.
that's been our biggest biggest issue with our athletes is talking about the labs. I mean, we have a young man who now went to Siena, and he's now, after Siena, graduated, was the captain of the Siena team. He's doing all the lab work now in order to go on for his PA degree.
And that's one of the things where you have to get on that campus and talk with professors and make sure that can work. And here, all our classes are over by 4:30, and then we start practice at 5 or 5:30. So it works, and guys take full advantage of it.
Well, that's cool. That's the kind of stuff, and this is something that I keep saying to the parents. This is why you make the visits, so you learn.
That's right.
You educate yourselves, and it's great. I feel good because this week we have 5 of our 2020 boys doing this for themselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's because we keep talking about it. I mean, we're doing it ourselves, but I think it's so vital to the process for a kid.
It's absolutely vital. You have to get on that campus. Everything looks great online and brochures, but every place has a different feel and a different culture to it, and you don't get that unless you're on campus. And so you have to make the visits.
I agree with you.
So, Cliff, being that it's 7:30, just run the intro here. I know we're kind of getting started, but I want to run the intro so people know that we're going to get the ball rolling, and we'll continue the conversation, which is
Frankie,
all good
ready to roll
stuff.
the
You
intro?
want to do the Instagram live thing, Corey, or no?
Yeah, they know. We did it a couple minutes ago. So,
did? Okay.
You
yeah,
guys
we're
ready?
good.
You want to give us a cue to roll the intro?
Roll the intro, man. We're ready for you. Let's go. Okay, cool. So we're back at it here. I want to rehash some of the points we talked about earlier and go into a little bit more depth. I think, we talked a little bit about why we're here, how we ended up here, with our college road tour. But I think this is a unique opportunity for us because, while visiting a campus is great, I think sometimes when you really want to know the ins and outs of the school and the programs, you got to spend a lot of time with the coaches and the players. And I think we've gotten a really good chance to do that today. I really feel as though, let's say I was a student athlete going through the recruiting process, I feel like I would get a really good handle of the type of kids that go here, how you run your programs, what practice is like, what the school is like, and all those good things. So being that we got a chance to actually sit through and watch one of your practices tonight, I want to talk about that because from my perspective and my observation, going to these schools, one thing that we're trying to get across to a lot of student athletes that follow us, are in our programs, and that are watching the show, especially tonight, is the fact that, is Division I better than Division III or Division II? And that's just, I guess, a natural thing that parents think just because, they think one's ranked higher than 2 or 3 or whatever the thought process is. But, when we saw your practice, that was unbelievable how you run it. It was high level. It was intense. Tons of enthusiasm. Talk about, when you first got here, how your practices have changed. Talk about, why you have so much enthusiasm and effort just existing within your program. And your
Thanks,
practice.
and appreciate that. And it's interesting. We had 35 juniors here for a junior visit day 2 weekends ago, and I asked the group, how many of you actually have been and seen a Division III game? and only 2 of the 35 had done that.
Wow.
And it's a shame. You need to get out and see the high level that Division III is. Good Division III lacrosse is fantastic.
Yep.
And it's exciting, and we tend to let our players play. It's not about the coaches on game day. It's about the players, and it's just a great brand of lacrosse, and more families and young guys need to get out and see it.
So not only did we notice great energy and great lacrosse out there, but really position-specific, high-level coaching. You have a big roster. You have 53 guys. Is that right?
That's right.
So we saw segments where you have attack. You were working with the attack at one point. Your assistants were breaking up, working with defense. You had a face-off coach. Talk a little bit about that, because
Sure.
when I think Division I DT3 lacrosse, I think maybe the resources aren't there. They're not as great, not as many coaches, and you're not getting as good coaching. But
yeah, so it's really important to devote time, we think, every practice to developing the skills and the position-specific skills.
Sure.
And so we do that, and we break up the coaching, and we rotate a little bit, but each of us has a specific. I've got a great assistant who's very good with face-offs and with defense. Another coach is very good with the goalies and with midfield play. I'll do a lot with the attack and with some of the transition things. So we devote time to that each day, try to develop those skills. We give them some tools every day, things that we want them to really focus on, and then have the opportunity to really excel with that.
So I noticed one thing. Explain to me the thought process here. When you call, it's kind of like a timeout. You blow the whistle, the whole team comes in. Everyone gets super excited. What is that all about? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's funny. I started a few years ago, and it was during a game, and there was a timeout. We called a timeout, and everyone kind of just walked over. And I said, what are you guys crazy? We're playing a game. It's a timeout. We're coming together. Let's change the energy and the vibe at that point and send a message to the other team as they hear us come together. And so it's just something we do all the time, and we practice it that way as well. We really believe in energy. HEART is an acronym that we use for everything, and that stands for hustle, for enthusiasm, for attitude, respect, and toughness. HEART. And that's something we practice. We condition ourselves to bring that in every situation.
Sure.
I saw that on the back of your practice jersey.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. And
Yeah.
I didn't know it was an acronym, because
Yeah.
obviously HEART tells you a lot about a player.
Right.
But when you have all of that and you voice it and people can hear it,
Yeah.
it's funny. Like when we talk about, you just said something about 2 out of 35 saw a Division III game.
Right.
Every kid that plays lacrosse generally on the East Coast can drive 20 minutes to an hour to see great Division III lacrosse.
That's right.
You're in the Long Island area.
Yeah.
You could watch, literally drive and see Stevens play.
Yeah.
They just played Colorado College,
Right.
another good team from the West Coast.
Yeah.
You're in Pennsylvania. You come watch all these Centennial teams. I mean, your conference is
Right.
arguably one of the best out there.
Absolutely.
Can you just share with everybody, like, what's the distance? And because besides Washington College, you're generally close to everybody, right?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's another thing we talk about in recruiting, and guys don't think about that much. Is for us, we're very fortunate the proximity to all our opponents, and so travel's not a grind. Nice. It's really easy. So you're not missing class, you're not falling behind, you're keeping up with your studies. We're 45 minutes, an hour and a half from most of our teams.
So what do? You leave if you have a 4 o'clock game? You leave in at 1 o'clock.
Correct, and our guys are able to schedule around that. We haven't had a guy miss a class in 12 years. It just doesn't happen.
Remember what happened to you in college? In your freshman year? So at his school, they tell you if you miss 4 classes, your grade goes down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? He's a
Yeah.
varsity athlete. He's a freshman.
Yeah.
He's getting some time as a freshman. They travel on 4 Fridays.
Right.
So he's going to miss 4 Fridays.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't play.
Right.
I mean, I was dumbfounded that a school
Yeah.
wouldn't back the
Right.
varsity. And then I find out that who donates all the money to the school?
Yeah.
The varsity athletes.
That's right.
So it's like something's not right here.
No, it's tough. And you try to find that balance academically and athletically, and there are times like that situation where you have to make some tough decisions. We're fortunate where that hasn't come up. Sure. You know, again, it's that balance. It's Division III in general, but specific to Dickinson, the proximity geography is in our favor, so we're very lucky.
And just so you know, my grade ended up going down because I chose to go to the game I'm not missing an away game for Spanish
I remember
class.
it was Spanish.
Yeah.
I remember the course.
I remember my teacher. And
It upset me. I was like, "This is not right.
No, I
It's
agree.
not right." You know what I mean? And the other thing, the question: do you have to, because everybody ends school? It's every student ends school at a certain time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, so all classes end by 4:00.
All are over by 4:30. Correct.
So then you don't need special treatment to pick classes because
Correct. And we don't have special treatment
yeah,
here.
which
No.
is which works.
Yeah.
But
right.
if you don't do that,
That's right.
Then you
No.
can't get that lab.
That's
or you
right.
can't.
That's right.
That's important for parents to know out there.
Really important.
And
Yeah.
just the education process, and this is part of why we're doing this BYG show and doing this, is to educate the parent.
Yeah.
And we're going to blast it out to the world. We want people in California and Texas to know, because they should know when they're evaluating a school all these ins and outs.
That's right.
And they're important.
And those aren't things that you typically pick up in reading a guidebook or something online. It happens when you get on campus and have those conversations.
Yeah, and you meet the coaches, and then you meet the kids, and you start talking about what you like and what you don't like.
Coach, can you rehash again the experience that the student athletes and then your athletes get by traveling abroad? Why are you a proponent of that? Why do you think that's beneficial, and why are you accepting of it?
Yeah, so it's something that Dickinson has developed a really strong reputation for. It's something we're known for throughout the nation, throughout the world. And so I want to support everything that Dickinson stands for. And I don't want to recruit somebody and then limit them when they come in here. I want them to have the full experience. So we really promote that and really talk about the great opportunity that young men have when they study abroad and travel, and the perspective they gain from doing that. So our way of looking at it is, in Division III, you're allowed 16 days of practice in the fall. That's an NCAA rule. So it's 16 practices, or it's 6 months in Beijing, China. No comparison in terms of the big picture. And that's what we have. We have the big picture. We want to excel in lacrosse. We want to excel as students, but we also want to have that full college experience, and so promote that in every facet.
So I love the big picture idea, and I think when you say big picture, not just your 4 years here, I'm thinking after college, right? So talk a little bit about what you do for your athletes who come through your program for life after college.
Yeah, that's probably the number one thing we talk about in recruiting are the outcomes, are what you can expect and get from the next 40 years after this 4-year experience. And we spend a lot of time with that. And being an alum of the college provides me some real access to that alumni network. And we tap into that and develop that, and it grows every year, and it's exciting to see. We take our seniors every fall, for example, up to New York City for a networking trip, and we visit alumni in different fields and different businesses, have a big alumni dinner that night, just get the guys in a professional setting. It's great fun. We do a lot with internships and programs, and connecting our guys with former players, and that relationship's really important in our program.
Do you mind taking us through you got this awesome dinner in New York City with some of your seniors, all your seniors.
Yeah.
How do those conversations go in terms of getting some of your probably friends, but also just people who are just tight alumni of the program to come to that dinner? Like, how are you picking people? How does that process work?
Yeah, it happens without much effort. We put out the date and the time, and the guys, it's something they look forward to. It's an annual trip that the alums get very excited about. It's great fun for them to rekindle a lot and connect with the next group. So we get really good numbers and great enthusiasm. So it's actually pretty easy.
Cool. Yeah, I noticed the relationship between your players seems really strong. We mentioned, a guy that played with us in our club program who had just graduated, Mr. Pat Finneran, and we mentioned just his name to a couple of your current players, and they started smiling. It's like as if, oh yeah, he's my boy. I know exactly who he is.
And then we met the stud All-American Mitty who went to get into sports marketing.
That's right, Brody.
And it's like you want to connect.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the jersey that we have up here is the kid who broke every record.
That's
Dylan,
Dylan Marr, graduated last year, broke all our scoring records from Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Sure.
I love it. Give a little shout out to Ridgefield, Connecticut. Coach
Right.
Colsey. We were talking about Coach Colsey. It's
right.
a great job he does with that high school program.
Absolutely. Yeah, the connections, the brotherhood, the bond. You hope that it's there. We don't assume that. We work at it. We create those connections.
Yep.
That's our focus every fall is building that culture, that friendship, that bond, and everything flows from that.
So let's talk a little bit more about the. I mean, from an athletic perspective, the feel of basically Division I program here. Let's talk about your facilities, like the building we're in. For people that can't necessarily see what's kind of in front of us and what's downstairs beneath us. What is this building? Who's in here? Talk about the support that you've gotten to even get, because this is a newly constructed 4-year-old incredible facility with training and locker rooms and all that good stuff. Just kind of take us through where we are right now.
Yeah, we're really proud of this, so I love talking about it. And this was built through the generosity of one of our Lacrosse alums, 1958 grad, who incredibly generous to the college. So this houses, we're in now a big meeting space, team room. We do film work up here. We have meetings throughout the year. Below us is our varsity weight room. And then we have locker rooms year-round for men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, field hockey, and football. There's a training room. There are visiting locker rooms and coaches' locker rooms. And it's right next to our field. So everything's in one spot. It's an easy walk from the furthest classroom on campus. So everything's very accessible.
So you mentioned that alumni from the 1958 team. Why is that a historic year here?
So 1958, Dickinson won a national championship in lacrosse, and this gentleman was part of that team and that class. And those guys have stayed connected and been incredibly involved with Dickinson.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Now, so besides this amazing building and then the field, ridiculous field behind us, I noticed a really positive, it seems like just an upward trending media presence within the school. We got a chance to meet Christian. I don't know his official title, but it seems like he's just running the show here when it comes to media. Talk a little bit about what he does for your program and the rest of the athletics.
Christian's had a huge impact on our team and all of our athletic department, and the videos and the social media and developing this brand.
Yep.
And we talked about that. And he's made a huge impact, and it's created some enthusiasm, some fun. Mm-hmm. The guys love it. They all know a lot more about it than I do, but it connects, and it's fantastic.
But he also gets the students involved, like the young man that's sitting right over there that you can't see on camera.
Right.
He's a sophomore here, and he's a student. Not you. You're not a young man. The young man behind you. And it's unbelievable because then you're giving these young men or women tools.
That's right, and I think that's something we do well at Dickinson is we empower our students to do things. We're not doing it for them. They're getting involved and taking it on and learning a great deal as a result.
Yep, no doubt. Now, the kids that you end up getting here, these are super high level, athletes who can easily be competing at Division I level. Where are these students on your team looking, as they're going through the process? What other schools are they looking at? Why do they choose Dickinson over the other schools as well, when it comes down to it?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any, crossover that's consistent all the time. But most of the guys we recruit have options at Division I. And many of them are Patriot League schools. Mm-hmm. And I think they're finding that the balance that we have here and the different opportunities and the excitement, I think it resonates with them, and they find this to be a place where they see themselves growing and realizing their potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the only way they're going to find that out is to come visit. We always tell our kids, you should go to every school that recruits you. That's just me. Obviously, if you can physically do it and financially do it.
Right.
But even if you just drive through the campus, and it's funny, we were driving here today, and we were running late, and Corey has never been here, but I've been here. And
when were you here? Why were you here already?
It was the best. I was on a road tour. My best friend who played at Ithaca with me, his name is Jim Egan, nicknamed Scooby. He's an All-American defenseman at Ithaca back in 1983. You can do the math. Anyway, we would always go to a Division III game during the year, and then after the Division III game, we would always follow his best friend, John O'Derna, who played for Gettysburg. They were playing U, and we'd always want to go to an away game because we want to see a college.
Right.
And they were playing U, and it was a hard-fought game. It was very close, and I got to experience Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the home of Jim Thorpe, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world because obviously I'm an historian of athletics. And I also had friends. Al Gollard was on that team who played with Corey.
Sure.
Great alum of your program.
That's right.
And it was just an amazing experience. And, I always say you have when you preach something, you have to practice it. You know, you can't tell kids to work hard if you're lazy.
Right.
So, like, I want to know more about this school and every school. We're going to go on to York tomorrow and Franklin and Marshall and then Muhlenberg. And we just saw Bucknell this morning and East Stroudsburg yesterday. But we're evaluating, okay, this kid would fit there really well. Go visit it.
Yeah.
But if you don't visit it, how do you know you don't like it? Or you do like it?
Yeah, you're right. You can't. You can't. And too often decisions are made without that visit. And in a lot of cases, young guys and their families go from, they choose like their top 3 or 4 and then just visit those places, and they've eliminated a lot of good options.
I find that, and I'll tell every parent out there, the recruiting process can be 2 things. It could be really, really, really fun or really miserable. It's up to you.
That's right.
So I found it fun.
Yeah.
Okay? I find it fun with all our student athletes.
Yeah.
I want to help them through the process. I've had one athlete who was a high-level player who got like a ton of offers, visit every school. And do you know what the college coaches said to me? What's wrong with that kid?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with him? He's doing the right thing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so many kids. I mean, we have a kid who was a 2-time captain at Johns Hopkins. He only visited Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
He could have probably played a lot of other places,
Sure.
I think.
Sure.
2-time captain at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
But he visited one school.
Right.
So how do you really know?
You don't. You don't, and I've certainly have learned that, even as we said earlier, from a different perspective now as a parent going through that process. And I would get online and look at some places and form a certain opinion, but fortunately I went and visited, and often it changed.
Oh, did it?
And you got to give yourself that chance.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Did your opinion change, Corey, when you went through the process with schools? Because I know you didn't like one school when you visited, and now when you visit it, you like it.
Yeah, the reasons, it's funny, like I'm trying to think back as a lacrosse recruit, and the reasons that you don't like a school or you might like a school before you go there are just so obscure. It's like I heard something from a kid in the hallway who said like he's got a cousin who goes there, and it's like, is that a reliable source, or I saw something online, or could be based on like, oh, like they're the Devils, like I like that mascot, it's all these like little things. But once you get there and you start to really educate yourself and see what college is about, why you're going there, why, what type of level you want to play at, I think everything totally changes. And
yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a fit and it's a feel that you just need to experience physically on that campus.
But it has to be a mature approach, because exactly what you just said, you have to be mature about the process. And one of the things parents have said to me, now kids always say this, but kids are generally, got to be pushed.
Yeah.
Kids were like, they want to be done with the process. They want to get it over with,
Yeah.
because they want to go back to their social life, wherever their lives are.
Right.
But when parents say, I want to get the process over with, that really gets under my skin, because
Yeah.
I think you're doing your child an injustice when you say that.
I agree, and again, just from having gone through that with my daughter, we wanted to give her that opportunity to take as long as it was necessary, and as long as it met the goals from their coaches as well. There's 2 timetables there. You have to
especially when you're a
create some
Division I
flexibility.
athlete,
right?
Because there's money involved, there's scholarship
correct,
money,
right,
and
no
stuff
doubt.
like that. When they
So, Coach, if you were to go back, maybe let's say we rewind a little bit, going through the process with your daughter, what are maybe one or a couple things you would have done differently?
I wish she would have listened a little more to me up front, because I wanted her to look at more.
Yeah.
Initially, and she was kind of a little narrower than I thought she should have been.
Yep.
And but at the same time, I wasn't a great listener to her in terms of what was important to her, and I was trying to project probably more of what I thought was important. And so I've learned to be a better listener. I've learned to be a better listener as a coach too, and that's an important part of coaching. So that's something I would have changed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that you go introspective on yourself?
Right.
Because you don't love anything more than you love your child, but you think you know what's best for her because you're a coach and you've had a lot of experience.
Right.
And then you said, okay, now I got to listen to her because it's really her deal.
That's absolutely right.
You got something over there, Cliffy?
Coach Webster, who do you think learns more, you or the kids?
Great question. I think I know we both learn a lot. And that's the best part of coaching is for me the mentoring of the young guys, and that's a relationship that goes both ways and full of learning. So that's what keeps it fresh for us and with the young people, and
it doesn't get old, right?
No, it never
gets old.
No, and it's always a different challenge, and every day there's something new. But I think we both learn quite a bit.
Let's talk a little bit about the parent involvement in today's world compared to, let's say, when we were kids. But you're obviously younger than me, but you've obviously know what I'm talking about. Generationally, parents are more involved now. How do you address that with a recruit when a parent is a little bit too vocal in the process? Yeah,
so we're pretty upfront about that, and want to kind of create the framework that we're going to work with early in that process. And so we make sure that the parents are involved in the process, but let them know early that it's going to be when the young man is here, it's going to be that young man growing up and fighting his own battles and learning how to communicate and talk with us. And it's not going to be conversations about playing time with parents or anything like that. And so in fact, the first day that mom and dad drop off the young guy when they move in as freshmen, we have a meeting and we sit down and we lay that out very clearly. We've done it already in the recruiting process, but we think it's important that first day. It's time to let your young man grow and learn, and we're going to be here to support them all the way, and we want to communicate with you parents, but there are some limits.
It's interesting. We talked about the young man that obviously Corey and I know the best, which is a Dickinson grad, which is Patrick Finneran. And Patrick had an interesting high school experience, and then he gets here and he had to fight his way to get on the field. So by his junior year, he was a starter, right?
Right.
And then by his senior year, he was All-American.
That's right.
So it's like you got to allow your kids, because I would imagine, and Patrick's never told me this, but I can imagine he must have been so much joy when he got to walk out for those first 10 kids in his first time, because he hadn't done it in a while.
Right.
And then making All-American. When
Yeah.
he was in the North-South game, I think he was – I've been proud of a lot of our alums, but he was definitely in the top 10.
Yeah, that's the best thing as a coach is to see that happen. See that young man who wasn't the star in high school and came in and just fought for a role, and that role changed and grew every year, and then just takes off as a senior. Awesome to see.
Yeah, it's cool.
So proud of him.
Yeah, I think a big part of that, right, and I'm sure it's something that you're getting at, his parents gave him an opportunity to be like, listen, I trust the people that you're going to be playing for the next 4 years. It's your time to step up as a man and fight for yourself. And clearly your staff did a great job developing him and giving that opportunity because you felt as though he deserved it. I'm sure that's the only reason he stepped on the field. And that's a cool story, because of that. His parent, we know his parents, and they're the type of people to listen to, I'm sure, the advice you were given from the start.
And that story happens all the time in Division III.
Yes.
And probably much more so than in Division I.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's a really neat part of what we have in this environment.
So let's talk about those types of players in general. Like, if a guy's not playing for his high school team, what do you see in an athlete that you might be like, hey, there's something here that I can work with and I think could be special and could really take off one day as they go through it?
Well, with Patrick, what we saw was a real hunger.
Yep.
A real desire to get that opportunity. And there are various things that could have prevented that from happening in high school, and it could have just been it was a very deep and talented team, and it was, and he was behind some really high-level Division I guys and just never got that chance. And so we recruit hunger. We recruit guys with a little edge who want to have something to prove,
Yep.
and know that there's a process involved with getting there.
Yeah.
And it sure is fun to work with them.
So Cliff's got another little tidbit.
Yeah, Coach Webster, have you ever been surprised where you didn't think somebody had it, and then all of a sudden they showed that grit?
Yeah, all the time. That happens.
A story?
That happens every day. A story. I had So yesterday, Monday, we had a morning practice. We like to have Monday mornings so that Monday afternoon is one afternoon where they don't have the practice and they can meet with a professor. They can take a nap if they need to. They just have a different schedule that afternoon, which we think mentally is great, and that brings them for the rest of the week, we think, really fresh. So Monday is often I'm in my office meeting with one player after another, and sometimes it's talking about internships and what alumni can I connect with, and others it's about, hey coach, what can I do to get better? And so I had 3 of those conversations yesterday, and each of them really surprised me in terms of their perspective on things and their maturity about the situation and how they were approaching that.
Sure.
Is everything okay, Cliff? Okay. You got a little nervous.
We can still hear him, so it's all good.
It's good. You know, it's interesting, but like, I say this to every parent. September 1st of their junior year, they're allowed to get a phone call from an adult, which is a college coach, to recruit them, right?
Yep.
That process from September 1st of their junior year to the end of their junior year, beginning of their senior year, that year is where I see, and the parents see, and you guys probably see, a growth in that young man or young woman, depending on what you're coaching, because in many cases, it's the first time they're speaking for themselves.
That's right.
And they're becoming adults. We'll call it adults, or young adults.
Right.
And I have a kid in our program who I love dearly, and I love the father and the mother. They're wonderful parents. And he used to love to watch his kids stumble.
Yeah.
Because he knew his kid was growing.
Right.
And one of the things parents don't understand is the only way you grow
That's right.
is to fall.
That's right.
To get up.
Yep.
And that's what we're trying to teach. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like Corey, he's got a 1-year-old, right? And he's obviously around a lot of parents.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's okay if she falls down.
Yeah.
As long as she's not going to like really badly hurt herself.
Right.
She'll get up.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's great. That's the part of the learning experience of being a really good parent.
That's right, and our focus on all our first year players is that this year you should fall and fail a ton, and just enjoy it and make the most of it, and now you'll take off. But without doing that this year, you're just putting yourself back, right? So it's okay to fail. We talk about failing forward. Right, and making all that growth because of that.
Yeah,
but a lot of guys they resist that, and they don't want to put themselves out there. So it takes some guys almost a whole year until they learn it's okay. And once they do, then they take off.
That's incredible advice. And one thing, just watching your practice, everything seems so purposeful, and like to develop that skill in someone to learn how to fail forward is a pretty incredible thing that you do with these young men, because that's something that's not just a lacrosse thing, right?
No, yeah.
Like that must help your kids.
Yeah, and you guys know this, I don't think anything we do as coaches or mentors working with young people, it very little of it's about lacrosse.
Right.
It's about becoming a man, about growing up and having just joy in doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's Carol Rose is a woman on Long Island who's the most storied high school lacrosse coach. She's a wonderful coach and great mentor, and she's tough. But she's developed so many amazing young women being tough.
Yeah.
And people question her and they don't know her because she's tough. But the reality is she's doing more for those hundreds or thousands of kids than the ones that are rubbing them on the back
That's
going,
right.
it's okay, honey, it's okay, honey.
Right.
No, it's not okay.
No.
It's not okay because, when you get to work and you're 10 minutes late and you're not working there anymore and you now don't have a job,
Right.
those aren't Carol Rose's girls.
No.
So with all due respect to those parents that think it's okay, no, it's not okay. And I think you're doing them a disservice by doing that. So, listen, I'm a loving person. I love to hug.
Yep.
And I love to hug my own children as well as the kids I coach. But at the end of the day, when they screw up, you got to go over there and say to them, listen, buddy, you screwed up.
That's right.
And you got to live up to that.
Well, I think one of the most important things we do as a coach is be demanding. Right? There's a standard, and we got to help the young men meet that standard. And when they deviate and don't reach it, we have to let them know, and we have to give them ways to get there. But we got to hold them to it.
I tell you something, man. I wish I could play one more game. That's how you feel when you're in this type of atmosphere, right? I mean, I know you're not too far from it, Corey. I'm a good 30 some odd years from it, but it's amazing. Like when you get on the field as a coach, do you start feeling that same vibe when you were suiting up and playing a little bit?
Yeah, and I find that coaching for me is more intense and competitive and more of a rush than it was playing. And at practice is like my time, and I get pumped up all day and fired up and go out there, and those 2 hours it's just awesome.
Your best 2 hours, right?
And absolutely.
Of your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah.
I like the excitement because we were in here.
Yeah.
There's glass there for those that don't know it, and I could hear like the excitement, and it's great. And you were saying how parents, when it's really not nice out or it's cold or rainy,
right,
they sit in here and watch the games.
Yeah,
you're still getting a good vibe.
No doubt, and that's a big thing in our program is we all know of the challenges involved and the work involved, but it's also got to be a lot of fun, and we keep that, and we don't lose that in the equation. That's a big part of what we do. And it shows with the 50 guys out there.
It also showed with your two assistant coaches that if you could just mention their names, because I mean we met them today and they were outstanding young men.
Absolutely. And
they're going to probably be great head coaches someday if they want to continue it.
They will. It's Pete Donnelly is in his third season. He's our defensive coach. He graduated from Susquehanna University, and then Tyler White graduated from Dickinson in 2015, and he's a great young offensive coach. And they will both go on and do some great things. And that's been a lot of fun for me coaching, is having former assistants go on and do some amazing things. You're going to meet with Brandon Childs tomorrow.
He's one of yours,
at York.
Right?
He was my assistant for 3 years. And it's great, awesome having connections with those guys. And in fact, in this room in early January, we have an annual coaching conference. We call it the Carlisle Coaching Summit. And it's some former assistants who are now head coaches and some of their associates. But we had York College here, and we had Lynchburg College and Elizabethtown and Shenandoah and Albright. I'm missing a couple, but we had about 22 college coaches. Wow. And we just gather and share ideas. Talk about philosophy and about motivation and some X's and O's, but it's a great day.
Do you ever open that up to high school guys?
We have some of the local guys involved.
Would it be cool if our high school guys came?
Oh man, they'd get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I know they would.
Yeah.
Well, we do that. We do that. Obviously, Hofstra does it, and Rutgers does it, and our coaches go to that. But I think it's important, especially the high school coaches, and opening up to them, because I mean you learn so much from others.
Right. And that's this format for us really works because we're not guarded at all. We don't try to hold some secrets back. We share completely, and we play each other too.
Yeah.
And so
you play York?
We don't play York. We scrimmaged them, but that's not a regular season game.
Do you not play them because he's so close to you?
Some of that. Yeah. To be honest with you, some of that is because of that relationship. And Brandon and I talk often and just throw some ideas off each other, and that would change a little bit if it's a regular game. So I like keeping it that way.
You might play in the playoffs, right? Are you both South?
We both could definitely play in the playoffs, yeah. And that would be neat. That would be fun.
What are, maybe if you don't mind sharing a story of an experience that really stands out for you in your time here? 16 years you've been?
It's my 18th season.
Oh, I'm sorry, 18th season.
Right.
So what's maybe one thing that stands out as a pretty great memory?
Well, last year was a great memory. Really special season. Won our conference championship for the fourth time and advanced to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament. And just that group was just so close and so connected, just resilient and tough. They were an absolute joy to coach. And you know, a lot of folks think that liberal arts colleges and some of the student athletes we have, you know, develop a certain profile like they're going to be that way, but man, our guys were tough as heck last year, and it's fun coaching a team like that. So that was certainly a highlight for me.
Yeah, I feel like that's like 17 years of work, though. You know, even more. You know, because I know because you went here and you started learning about the school and the type of kid that could potentially come here and be super successful. And I think that's kind of like the roots of what you built that people don't see. They just see that you went to the Elite Eight, and all of a sudden Dickinson's good. It's like, no, Dickinson's been really good for a while, but now you know you're starting to really turn out elite teams, and you guys are
And amazing players. Like, I mean, we talked about the young man you played with you played in a summer league with this, what's Palladino's, Brendan?
Brandon.
Brandon Palladino.
Yeah.
What was he, Division III?
National Player of the Year.
National Player of the Year.
2013.
So he plays on a summer team. I told you this earlier. I just want the audience to hear this.
Yeah.
And they go, Coach Wing, come down with us and pull us out of the bars in Ocean City. So, so they're playing in this summer league, and it's Virginia, Maryland kids. I mean, it was ridiculous. Penn, Cornell kids. Yeah. He was the best kid.
Hanley was on the team. Great goalie for you guys.
Right.
And there's an
Hanley was
attackman. His name's slipping me. He was fantastic, though. He was like
Brian Cannon.
Yes, Brian Cannon.
So he was the National Attackman of the Year that year.
That's right.
That team was loaded. 2013, another Elite Eight team.
Yep.
Should have gone further, but
yeah.
But those guys were special players, and it's funny that Brandon, long stick midi, National Player of the Year, now regularly text our current long stick midi before games.
Oh, I love that.
And have this special connection. Our current long stick, Nate Usich, is a two-time All-American, preseason first teamer at that position. And so that connection, isn't that cool?
I love that.
So
it's like Tom Brady in 20 years going to be talking to New England Patriot quarterback.
Right?
That's great.
Because Palladino
awesome.
is Tom Brady of Dickinson.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cliffy.
We have some. Coach Webster seems to be quite popular, and I would like to know if he would give some shout-outs to some people who are like screaming for him.
Oh yeah, like who?
Ron Miller says Dave Webster is a great guy and coach.
Thanks, Ron.
Well, that's nice of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we agree with Ron Miller, and that's why we have him on the Beyond the Game show. Did Ron Miller play for Dickinson, or was he just like a dad?
Let's ask him.
Yeah, why don't you ask Ron what's his background?
You just did.
I just did. I'm
Josh
glad you.
Link says, thank you, FLG. This is really helpful.
I'm glad they're enjoying it.
Chad Hambrook. Coach Webby, all capitals. Red Devils! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
That's great. That's great that we got some. Is that alum? Is he alum?
Chad is a local guy.
Okay.
Yeah, whose dad works here.
Oh, cool.
So that's awesome.
You have like local like fans.
Yeah, we
Groupies?
do.
We'll call groupies?
Yeah. I don't know about groupies, but we got some great support locally.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
And we do a lot with the young teams, and we have Lacrosse Day.
Nice.
And
You do? You bring,
yeah,
like, the young kids?
Young kids, and our guys volunteer a ton with, like on some of those Mondays where we're not practicing, we go over to youth practices and help coach.
I love that.
So we do a lot with that.
You haven't gotten involved in that, right? You just kind of do it from the.
I've got a son who's in 8th grade, and I coach his summer team.
No way.
Nice. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, crazy, but yeah.
Oh, good for you, man.
It's too much fun.
Oh,
so
it's
I
the
just
best.
can't get away from it. Yeah.
You keep it like real, right?
Yeah. No, it's.
What does he play? What does your boy play?
Midi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Were you a midi?
I was a midi. Yeah.
You were two-way midi though. It's only two-way
That's
midis.
all we had back then, right?
The best coaches are two-way middies.
Yeah.
You think so?
100%. You got to be able to do it all.
I don't know.
and
Bill
it all.
Tierney's a pretty damn good coach, and I don't know if he was a two-way midi.
All right,
Petro
cool.
was pretty good too.
Yeah, that's
Not
right.
a two-way midi.
Nope.
So we'll come to a close here. I just had a quick thought just popped in my head. I'm just kind of curious what the vibe's like on home games for you guys. Like who comes to the games? What's the crowd like?
Yeah.
And,
Well,
parent involvement, all that good stuff.
I don't know if you guys saw, there were some articles about this last year. We developed the reputation Division III for having like the best fans in the game.
Wow.
And so we would fill up the stands, and you talked about Patrick Finner, and his father was instrumental in leading that charge in, in the stands.
Awesome.
We had some incredible parents who just had so much fun with that and would lead cheers and get everybody involved. And so we had a couple of home playoff games here last year, and the stands were full, and they were giving out red T-shirts and pizzas, and it was an incredible home field advantage.
Sure.
And you don't see that a lot at Division III.
No.
And that's, again, something, guys, you need to get out on those campuses and go to a game and feel it out.
Yeah.
But here it was pretty unique and a lot of fun.
That's incredible. I mean, for my, I don't have much experience in this, but when I was in college, I got knocked out. Didn't win the conference, didn't make the NCAA tournament. So my buddy, we were talking about, John O'Derna, was in the semifinals for Gettysburg playing Salisbury at Salisbury.
Right.
So this is a Final Four game,
Yeah.
and the crowd, it was pretty good. It was great, but like for you to get that in a first and second round game, that's pretty incredible.
It was incredible, and the student body was here at the first round game before they had all went home for the summer, and everyone came down. It was fantastic.
That's really cool.
Yeah. In fact, at our conference championship played at Gettysburg, our students on their own got 2 buses.
That's
and,
great.
And so we're out on the field warming up, and we hear this thing and look out, and these buses and the kids are hanging out the windows, and I mean, it was awesome.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Very, very cool.
You need that kind of support.
Yeah.
It just, again, adds to that environment and fun, and they all know each other and coming on the field after the game.
Right.
Pretty neat.
Well, that kind of tells you, and then for someone who hasn't been in college yet, you know, young kid watching this, like, to get a student body to rally behind your team like that and go to a game just shows you the relationship of the players that you have on your team with the rest of the student body. That's not always as amicable. It's usually sometimes a little confrontational or just non-existent. So that tells you something, right?
Well, yeah, and I think it's bigger than us. It happens at basketball games and football games, and so there's good support here, and our students get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was talking to Kim. When I was talking to the girls' coaches, Kim and Paige, about your president, she's like really into it.
Well, she was at these playoff games with pom-poms in the front row leading some cheers.
That's sick.
It's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
Where do you get that?
You don't get that much.
No.
That's she's got a ton of energy and a really dynamic leader.
That's cool. See, that's important. That's important to me. I won the School Spirit Award my senior year in my high school.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's very important to me. School Spirit is very important.
No
to me.
doubt.
I used to yell at him, and when he decided not to play basketball, I said, "You go down there and you support your buddies."
Yeah.
And he used to go down and have a good time with his buddies.
It's big.
It is big.
No.
Yeah.
So you want to just I know we got to wrap it up, but
So we'll talk real quick where we're going next.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the rest of the tour.
Well, first we're going to see one of Coach Webby's proteges.
Yes, we're going to see.
Grandchild.
Hopefully the weather doesn't stop us from doing that.
right.
So we'll figure that out tomorrow. We'll see York, and then in the afternoon we're going to see Franklin and Marshall play.
Lebanon Valley.
One of their first home game, but that got moved to Thursday.
of the
So
weather.
we'll have to postpone that, and we'll just hopefully get a word on that and promote it later. And then we'll see Muhlenberg working with the men's and women's staff
Yeah, we got a young
on
man.
Thursday morning.
We got 3 young men at Muhlenberg that played in our program.
Doing a nice
And they're all
job there.
getting some burn, so we're happy for them, and we're excited to finish our road tour.
Yep.
And we're just going to, first of all, thank you for
Thank you guys.
hospitality.
Yeah,
It's
thank
been
you,
awesome
Coach.
to have you all here.
You guys have been, more than
Come
welcome.
back again.
Yeah,
we'll
no
be
doubt.
back.
That's great.
We want to catch a game too.
Yeah, cool.
Because
Good.
it's all good.
Yep.
So thank you, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday night.
He did
next
get
show.
one more comment.
Yep, absolutely.
A woman by the name of Lori Hair says, "I know you guys are missing me now."
Lori's the one who
And
does
then she
Cliff's
said,
music.
"I'm better looking than Cliff."
True.
Much.
Check that box.
And then she said, that was about it. And then Sam Greenberg says, "Coach Webster, best coach in D3."
Thank you, Sam.
I think it's not just D3 though.
yeah.
Remember, drop the D's.
Yeah,
guys.
drop the D's.
Right.
Coach
That's what we
Webster,
always say,
best
drop
coach.
The D's.
Period.
Drop the D's. I just want to talk college.
That's good.
Well, we'll see everybody next week when we're back on LI in our studios, and we have to thank the whole Dickinson and Christian. And Christian left because, of course, he has a life outside of this place. But we want to thank him, and then thanks, Coach Webster.
Thank you all.
All right, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night. Organized sports can be overwhelming, and the recruiting process beyond. We untangle it all with our common sense approach. Learn from our experience, then go on and create your own. FLG Lacrosse has created a recruiting service with one goal in mind: create more opportunities for your lacrosse recruit. We've created a step-by-step process that's been tested and proven by hundreds of student athletes, both boys and girls. Our process includes a month-to-month as well as a year-to-year calendar, an online recruiting platform to keep everything organized, access to every single college coach in the country, both men's and women's, educational live streams just for you, where you can answer questions and talk about your concerns with us, as well as consulting on what events to go to and which events to stay away from. And we also give you access to our alumni network of over 100 men and women who have gone through the recruiting process. They're now in college, and some have even graduated. we are now accepting applications for the BYG recruiting service. Our application window is going to end on February 1st, 2019. So be sure to apply today at byglacrosse.com.